Okay, so just a few practical steps. So when you're working with existing donors or you're about to bring on board some new ones, have a plan in place. So if someone gives you $50, what happens next? You know, does someone make a phone call? Do they get a thank you letter? Do they get an invitation to an event? You know, how often are you going to get in touch with them? Is it just at appeal time? Because if it is, you'll lose them. You know, how are you engaging with them in between? If someone gives you $10,000, who makes a phone call? Do you make a phone call? Do you put their name on the wall? Do you acknowledge them? Do you recognise the gift? Like, what are the steps that you're taking with each donor? So when we plot out a donor journey, we will sort of segment donors into, you know, brand new first time gift, you know, maybe, you know, those donors that have given, say, between $0 and $1,000, those who've given us in kind, those who've given us more than $1,000, you know, we might class as major gift, and we'll have a different sort of strategy for each one of how we manage them when they come on board. You know, talk to them, share your news, and use different media. And again, this is actually asking them, you know, how do you want to be communicated with? You know, do you prefer email? Do you like letters? I'm always slightly sus about email because emails don't get opened. I mean, I think if you get between 25 to 45% open rate, that you're doing really well. And we certainly find that when we do an appeal, letters always work better consistently by a huge shot. So I think a campaign we did this year where we got less than 1% response from existing donors via email. We tested it. We got 15% response when we sent letters to that group. So think carefully about how, you know, if you're going to do lots of emails, will they read them? You know, if you're sharing news that way, they're going to, you know. So I would always say at some point in that 12-month period, there should be either a phone call or some kind of post to, you know, to know that you have touched them in some way and it hasn't just gone through junk mail and they've not seen your news. Your board needs to be involved in fundraising. You cannot do fundraising without your board. You will fail miserably without your board. So, I mean, you may do well, but the most successful organisations have their board involved in fundraising. Now, that may not necessarily be the board making asks, because board members freak out because they think, oh, but I'm just giving up my time and I'm doing governance. It could be opening the doors for you, introducing you to, you know, people that can count. It could be stewardship, where you might not have time to make, you know, 100 phone calls to say thank you. Split that between 10 board members, that's 10 calls each. They can call and say thank you for you. But boards it's vital that boards are involved in fundraising. It's not a solo job. So your CEO, if you're not the CEO, and the chair at the very minimum should be involved in fundraising, and at least in this area here, in networking, stewardship, and solicitation. If you don't have one already, you need a database to manage your fundraising, and particularly to manage the donor journey, because you can't really do that on paper when as donations come through. So you can actually, you know, using a database, you can segment the different groups that you've got. You can then, you know, have different, you know, depending on how sophisticated you go, you can actually get the database to sort of give you the reminders of when you need to contact people, all that sort of stuff. Your database at the bare minimum should be able to process your donations and receipt them for you. Should be able to have all of your contact details of your donors, and should have some kind of notes function where you can actually start to put in diary entries or notes around when you meet donors. You know, where you can actually sort of start to notate, okay, well, met Mrs. Smith on Monday, you know, we had a chat about X, Y, and Z, so that in 3 months' time, you know, when you want to sort of touch base with Mrs. Smith, or she sends you a donation, you can put on the note, oh yeah, how's your grandson? Because you said he was, you know, he wasn't doing so well, or congratulations, or whatever. And it's those personal touches that help to lift your donations. And also ask colleagues or peers in the sector who you may know who are either in fundraising and other not-for-profits for help and advice. I mean, my experience of the not-for-profit sector is that, you know, it's very collegial, so most people are happy to sort of share and to help you out. And then, so major donors who volunteer for a cause give much more. So, you know, so again, you know, knowing who your volunteers are is really important, and making sure that you ask. And I'm not saying you have to directly say, you know, you must give me some money, you know, but are you giving volunteers an opportunity to give? You know, so do they get a volunteer pack when they join? In that pack, is there at least a leaflet in there that says, If you want to make a donation, you can. If you want to give a monthly gift, you can. Have you given them that opportunity? And certainly something around bequests as well.